Hill and Hollow music enriches the cultural life of the Adirondacks, bringing thousands of professional musicians from across the country to perform in the North Country. The Chamber Music Organization has done this since 1995, but during its current 31st season, it's facing some major changes in its leadership and framework. If you're wondering how those changes might affect audience members for chamber music, we have two people here who know more about those issues than anyone else. Joining us now is Angela Brown of Saranac, New York. She's the founder of Hill and Hollow Music. And Tom McNichols, an award-winning classical singer of Plattsburgh, New York. He's also a former president of the Strand Center for the Arts. Welcome to you both.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Well, before we get into all the changes facing Hill and Hollow Music, I just realized the two of you have something in common, and something pretty major in common. You both have professional experience singing in an award-winning capacity. Angela, what's your experience with this?
Oh, well, I got my first voice lessons here in Plattsburgh, and I graduated from SUNY Plattsburgh, and I attended the McGill University Opera Studio, and then went to the Manhattan School of Music. And from there, I launched my singing career in the United States, Canada, and Europe. But then I wanted to move home to the North Country with my husband. And that sort of put a stop to the career.
And you, Tom, also with the voice and career of a singer.
Well, I recently semi-retired from after 20 years of full-time touring and recording and choral music, opera performances all over the country, a little bit abroad. It was a great 20-year run.
Okay, so you both have first-hand knowledge of what it's like to perform classical music as singers, and that's what makes what you do with Hill and Hollow Music so interesting.
Absolutely. Once you've been on the road and have worked with the various artist managers and the places that are hiring you and the hospitality and all that, it all translates to what we do day to day with people.
Just for a moment, let's go back to the beginning. Angela, how did Hill and Hollow Music get its start?
I found it difficult to maintain my singing career once I had moved back to the Adirondacks. But I found that I could not live without live music, good music, and I had many, many contacts from my professional days. And we started by luring them to the North Country for concerts. And so we had a very modest start, and it expanded from there.
And Angela, we really owe all these musical experiences to you and your late husband, Kellum Smith, who was a philanthropic foundations officer with a background in law. Without him, it couldn't have happened either.
That's right, and he was a great music lover. And I think he too felt a little hungry for the arts and for music in particular to be more in our life up here.
So the two of you were hungry for the arts and for music. And what kind of service does Hill and Hollow Music provide for other people who also need such exposure to the arts in their lives?
We provide beautiful concerts in an intimate setting. And it's nice to not have to drive to Montreal or to Burlington or Albany. It's nice to have this in our community, and where you go to a concert and you see some friends in addition to experiencing the music.
Well, Angela, since 1995, you were the director of Hill and Hollow Music, but as you said in an interview we did last year, you've retired from that position. What's your title now, and what will you be doing with Hill and Hollow now?
Well, now I'm in the background. I'm still a board member, and I'm helping recruit the talent, the artists, helping Tom plan a season. There are a lot of moving parts, and so I'm involved in the artistic direction still.
I'm sure a lot of the audience will be very happy to know that. Well, I just read on your website that Hill and Hollow Music at one point was considering disappearing from the scene, which would have been a real shame. How serious was that threat?
It was super serious. We interviewed several people to take over the running of Hill and Hollow, and there were no takers. And so we turned to the Strand, because the Strand has community support now going to their concerts. They have a staff that could help us. And that is where I reconnected with Tom in a deep way. And we were going to put shows at the Strand, but the size of the place would necessitate hiring a different kind of music groups. And it would not be the traditional classical and small ensemble that we were known for and that our audience loved about Hill and Hollow music. And so we were trying out some shows there, but it really wasn't fitting Hill and Hollow's who we are. And Tom stepped forward to say that he thought he could help us maintain what we had built and stay in Saranac, for example, at the church, in the more intimate setting, with the acoustic groups that don't require amplification. In the Strand, you know, you have to do so much with sound enhancement, and that's just not who Hill and Hollow music is. So Tom stepped forward.
And Angela, I've heard you call Tom heaven sent in terms of how he got involved in the rescue of Hill and Hollow music.
Well, when it looked like we were going to go under, he stepped up and he said he'd like to have a shot at running the Hill and Hollow music, the series. And so naturally, I pounced on that.
And Tom, isn't it interesting how you actually had prior experience with Hill and Hollow music as a guest performer years ago?
I did in the first year out of graduate school with the ensemble Cantus that I spent 5 seasons with. Plattsburgh State and Hill and Hollow teamed up to bring us to town for a lot of education work, a number of concerts. And yeah, it was the 10th season of Hill and Hollow, and now we're at the 31st. And I also want to be clear that I don't think rescuing Hill and Hollow is quite the right term, because Angela has built an organization that is on quite solid footing. I'm just here to shepherd it forward for as long as possible to come, but it's a little less rescuing. I think going under was more not having anyone to take over more than it was a real troublesome thing. So it's my pleasure to try and shepherd it forward.
Well, I appreciate that clarification. And since July of 2025, you've been the executive director of Hill and Hollow Music, a brand new position. What does that position entail?
Well, it's for one, it's a volunteer role. I want to make sure that as we look to the community for support, everyone's clear that it's not for my benefit. This is for the benefit of everyone in the community and for the betterment of Hill and Hollow. It's like running any other business or any other organization. It's a little bit of marketing, a little bit of logistics, contracting, curation, treating the artists well when they get here, the day of show things. And Angela, luckily, is continuing on with a lot of the curation aspects because her breadth of knowledge of this industry is remarkable. I still have a lot to learn on that front of who all these thousands of artists are and what their real specialties are. And so I'm trying to help alleviate some of the busy work for her to make her feel like she's retired, but not quite letting her retire entirely.
And with your background, your professional background, you already have so much experience in doing exactly what you're doing now.
Yeah, I was the tour manager for 4 seasons with Cantus. So it was effectively everything you do with this role of organizing the day of show, organizing the stuff ahead of time, keeping track of the merchandise sales and the contracts and looking forward. It's just a matter of planning.
And Angela, are you now happy with the fact that not all of the concerts are going to be in Plattsburgh, New York?
I'm delighted that we can remain at the church in Saranac for a couple of reasons. First of all, the acoustics there are just perfect for acoustic, unamplified instruments and voices. But we have a lot of audience who comes from farther out. They come from Saranac Lake and all the communities between Saranac Lake and Saranac. Audience also comes from Malone. And I think for them to have to go all the way to Plattsburgh, we might lose a lot of those people, and we would like to keep them because they enjoy what we do, and yeah, they're part of the Hill and Hollow family.
And that family is also used to going to other venues in Saranac to experience music, is that correct?
Oh yes. We have concerts at the Volunteer Fire Department, which is a more casual atmosphere. And then also we have some shows up at my farm, at Weather Watch Farm. It's very nice.
There's that beautiful landscaping there. It's so impressive. It looks like a painting.
Why, thank you. There are a lot of weeds.
Well, let's see what we have to look forward to this season from Hill and Hollow Music. What's on deck for February 1st?
We have a wonderful jazz ensemble of 4 artists coming from Montreal. The name is Cordam. They are doing jazz reimaginations of classical works. Then they do also some original compositions. I think it will satisfy both the jazz-loving audience and the classical music-loving audience.
And you'll even have a special audience for this music group, because aren't you going to be doing some community outreach with them?
Oh yes, we'll be taking them to the Lake Forest Senior Living. The audience there adores jazz and classical.
Sounds perfect for that group. And what's coming up after that?
Coming up next is another kind of crossover fusion group called Tapestry. They are out of Boston. They do also classical music seen through the lens of traditional folk, namely French.
And April 12th, you have another show.
Oh, wow. 2-time Juno winner, Kiran Ahluwalia. And she's an Indian woman with a band of 5 musicians. Now this ensemble will be at the Strand. It's perfect for the Strand. It's Indian music, but it's also rock and jazz. In May, we will be featuring young artists, what we call emerging artists, and these are big competition winners. It's a guitar duo. They're brothers from down under. They're from Australia. They will be performing with a flutist, a young black flutist from San Francisco, also competition winner.
Well, Angela, it all sounds so wonderful, and there's so much to look forward to, and I know that the audience is grateful that you're still going to be involved in choosing the artists and in helping in that process. But as the organization moves forward, what do you really want to do?
I really want to get out of Tom's way, because he is a really talented guy, really smart, and I think he is going to take the ball and run with it. He's, you know, getting his sea legs now, and I think he's finding it kind of a stimulating thing to do.
And Tom, what are your goals?
To maintain the integrity of Hill and Hollow. These are the premier artists in each of their own genre. I'm really looking forward to hiring some friends of mine, some people who are just absolutely tremendous and are right in the middle of their career, and perhaps bring in some acts that I've always admired or who are pushing the boundary, and unless you're going to New York City or London, you're not going to have the chance to see them. But I'm hoping that they might be willing to do a favor for the North Country if I ask nicely.
Are you also interested in enlarging the audience for Hill and Hollow Music?
Oh, absolutely. That's always a goal of any presenting organization. This is very much family-friendly, kid-friendly, especially once the kids are at the age where they might be taking piano lessons or picking up a violin or joining the school band. I've really been surprised at how many shows have had children at them, and they are genuinely enthralled and attentive. And that's how I got started. My parents took me, they can still remember one of the first shows was Mum and Chance at the Lake Placid Center for the Arts. So, introducing children to it and seeing how they explore with it is really going to be one of the keys to the future of it.
I think that's fantastic that you, as a child, were profoundly affected by performances that you saw, and look what's happened to you now. You're the executive director of this organization that is going to inspire other people.
Absolutely.
Well, I'd like to thank you both for coming in today, and certainly to thank you both for helping expand the musical options that we enjoy in the North Country.
Thank you for having us, Paul.
This is great. Thank you.
And I'd like to mention that in May of 2025, Angela Brown was one of 4 recipients of the North Country Impact Award. That's the highest recognition SUNY Plattsburgh bestows on its alumni. She received it not only for her work with Hill and Hollow Music, but also for the many other ways she's shown a commitment to local culture and history. And for the faithful audience of Hill and Hollow Music, they can be assured chamber music will continue in the same Saranac venues as before, as well as the Strand Center for the Arts in Plattsburgh, with music champions working hard to expand the audience and continue the success of the organization. HillandHollowMusic.org is the place to visit to find out about all the upcoming shows from Hill and Hollow Music.
Spotlight is supported by the Glenn and Carol Pearsall Adirondack Foundation, dedicated to improving the quality of life for year-round residents of the Adirondack Park.